My name is Samantha Collins. I'm 31 years old, and until that week, I believed 5 years of distance could be repaired with 2 plane tickets and an open front door. I paid for my parents to fly across the country because they said they missed me. I stocked the guest rooms, cleared my work schedule, arranged transportation, and prepared the meal they always requested whenever I visited home. Their flight landed at 3:45. By 6, no one had arrived. At first, I assumed traffic was bad. Then I received a message saying they had stopped at my sister's nearby house to drop something off. An hour later, they were still there. At 8, I saw a photograph online. The caption called it a long overdue family reunion. My parents stood beside my sister, smiling and raising glasses toward the camera. There was no mention of the person who had purchased the flights that brought them there. I called once. No answer. I sent a message reminding them dinner was ready. My mother replied with a heart emoji. Don't wait up. We're having such a lovely time. Their luggage never appeared in the rooms I had prepared. When I checked the travel itinerary, I noticed my sister's address had been entered as their destination before their plane had even taken off. That was the first sign this wasn't a spontaneous change of plans. They had accepted my money while already intending to stay somewhere else. What I did not know was that avoiding my house was only the beginning. They had crossed the country with a request they believed I would be too desperate for their approval to refuse. Before I tell you what my father eventually said and what happened after I walked out, tell me, what time is it where you are right now? Where are you watching from? And what's the weather like there? I'm curious to see how far this story will travel. 5 days before I found myself staring at an empty table, my mother, Elaine, had called with a softness in her voice I had not heard in years. My father, Robert, sat beside her, speaking loudly enough for me to hear through the phone. They said they had been thinking about how much time had passed and how terrible it was that distance had separated us. My younger sister Megan had recently moved to Glendale, less than 20 minutes from my home in Los Angeles, and they suggested it was the perfect opportunity for all of us to reconnect. I should have noticed that they never said they wanted to visit me. They said they wanted the family together. Still, I wanted to believe I was included. For 5 years, our relationship had existed mostly through payment confirmations and brief holiday messages. I had built a successful financial consulting firm after leaving home at 23. My parents described me as fiercely independent, but independence was the excuse they used whenever they neglected me. When my mother needed help with insurance, she called me. When my father's truck required repairs, he called me. When Megan wanted to open an interior design studio but could not qualify for financing, all three of them called me. 2 years earlier, I had loaned Megan $180,000 toward her Glendale house. My attorney insisted on a written agreement secured against the property. My family complained the paperwork felt cold, but Megan signed it. She was supposed to begin monthly payments once her business became profitable. She made 3 payments, then stopped. I never enforced the agreement. Each time I considered it, my mother reminded me Megan was still finding her footing. Meanwhile, I helped with my parents' mortgage, insurance, repairs, and emergencies. They thanked me by telling relatives how fortunate they were to have 2 successful daughters, never explaining that one daughter financed the appearance of success for everyone else. When my mother proposed the trip, I treated it as a chance to reset our relationship. I purchased upgraded round-trip tickets because my father complained about his back. I arranged a rental vehicle, prepared 2 guest rooms, bought my mother's favorite coffee, and moved important meetings so I could spend the week with them. Megan helped me create the schedule. Monday evening was dinner at my house. Tuesday included a private theater tour my mother had wanted to experience for years. Wednesday was open family time. Thursday included a coastal restaurant reservation. Friday was supposed to be a quiet final evening before their Saturday flight. Don't make everything so structured, Megan warned when I emailed the itinerary. They're coming to relax. They're coming to see me, I replied. Of course, she said after a pause. Just let things happen naturally. The morning of their arrival, I received an email showing that the rental vehicle's destination had been changed to Megan's address. I assumed they planned to stop there briefly. Their plane landed on time, but no one called. 40 minutes later, Megan posted a video showing my parents entering her house beneath balloons and a printed banner that read, "Welcome home, Mom and Dad." It was not an unexpected stop. She had planned a reception. I called and asked when they were coming to my house. "Probably later," Megan said. Music and voices filled the background. "Everyone's here." Who is everyone? Neighbors and business contacts. Mom and Dad wanted to meet them. They told me this trip was about reconnecting. It is. You're part of the week, Sam. You don't have to make the first night about yourself. I had purchased the flights, prepared their rooms, and rearranged my life. Somehow, expecting them to arrive at my home made me selfish. At 9:30, my mother finally called. "We're exhausted. Megan thinks it would be easier if we slept here tonight." "Their luggage is already inside?" I asked. She hesitated. "Yes." "So you plan to stay there?" "Only tonight. Please don't make this uncomfortable. You let me prepare everything. And we appreciate it. We'll see you tomorrow." After the call, I returned to Megan's social media page. An aunt had commented, "So beautiful to see the whole family together again." My mother responded, "Exactly where we belong." I was 18 minutes away, yet no one corrected her. No one said one person was missing. That night, I placed the dinner in containers and turned off the lights. The changed address, the banner, the luggage, and the photographs made one truth impossible to ignore. They had not forgotten to include me. They had designed the reunion without me and used my money to reach it. Tuesday morning, my mother sent a cheerful message at 7:15. "Wonderful first night. We'll coordinate later." I reminded her about the private theater tour beginning at 10. I had spent weeks arranging access to areas normally closed to the public because she had dreamed of visiting since I was a teenager. At 8:40, my father replied, "Megan has an important client presentation. We promise to support her." "You promised to spend today with me," I said when I called. "We have the entire week. Your sister needs us this morning." She knew about the tour. She has a business to run. Plans change. I had moved meetings with paying clients to host them, but Megan's schedule was untouchable. Mine remained flexible because I had learned to accept disappointment quietly. I attended the tour alone. At 11:30, a photograph appeared in the family chat. My parents stood beside Megan in a studio filled with fabric samples and champagne glasses. Behind them was a display carrying Megan's company logo. At the bottom, beneath the words, "Strategic Financial Partner," was the name of my firm. My company had never partnered with hers. I called Megan. She declined, then texted, "In a meeting." "Why is my company listed on your presentation?" "It's only a draft. Your involvement gives potential clients confidence." "I'm not involved." "You helped me with the house and gave advice. That counts as support." "It does not make my firm your partner." "Can we not do this today? Mom and Dad are here." That sentence revealed the role my parents were playing. Megan had always been more confident when they were nearby because she knew disagreements would become three voices against one. Minutes later, my operations manager forwarded a promotional email from Megan's studio. It described me as an early financial backer and claimed my firm would provide ongoing strategic oversight. It included a professional photograph of me that I had never approved. My mother took Megan's phone when I called again. "Your sister is trying to build something," she said. "You have already succeeded. Why not allow your reputation to help her?" "Because she never asked." "She probably assumed you would be proud." "I'm not proud of being misrepresented." "Please don't embarrass her in front of clients. We'll discuss this privately tonight." "Are you coming to my house tonight?" "We'll see how the afternoon goes." At 2, a vendor emailed my business asking when payment would be released for furniture installed at Megan's studio. The outstanding invoice was $18,600. She had listed me as the payment contact. I forwarded it to her. Remove my company from every document. I am not paying this. My father left a voicemail saying refusing to help would create unnecessary tension. My mother claimed Megan expected the invoice to be covered by remaining funds from our investment arrangement. There were no remaining funds. The original loan had been fully distributed 2 years earlier. That evening, Megan invited me to dinner at her house. I almost declined, then realized they would use my absence as proof that I had chosen not to participate. During dinner, every conversation centered on Megan's clients, plans, renovations, and future. When I mentioned the theater, my mother said, "We'll do it another time. You leave Saturday. Maybe we'll extend our stay. Who would pay for the ticket changes?" The table became silent. My father frowned. "Why do you bring money into every conversation?" After dinner, Megan brought me into her office and handed me projections for her business. "I need short-term help," she said. "How much?" $250,000. "You already owe me $180. The house is worth more now. You haven't made a payment in 21 months. Because I needed cash for the business. Then you couldn't afford the house." Her expression hardened. "Mom and Dad said you would understand." "Did they know you planned to ask before they accepted my flights?" She did not answer. The trip had not been organized to repair our relationship. My parents had come because Megan needed them to help pressure me into financing her again. My invitation provided transportation and the emotional leverage. As I drove home, one question followed me. How much of my family's affection existed only because they believed access to me meant access to my money? The next morning, I decided to find out. I did not confront them immediately. In my family, emotion was treated as evidence of instability. If I raised my voice, Megan became the calm one. If I cried, my mother said I was overwhelmed. If I explained too much, my father accused me of keeping score. So I created a test. At 8:30 Wednesday morning, I sent one message. "I reviewed Megan's projections. I may have a solution. Can everyone come to my house at noon?" My mother responded within a minute. "We'll be there." For 2 days, they had been unable to commit to a meal or tour. The possibility of financing placed them at my door 15 minutes early. My father carried a notebook. Megan wore a business suit and brought a presentation folder. They sat around the same dining table they had ignored Monday evening. "What security are you offering?" I asked after reviewing the proposal. "The house," Megan said. "You already pledged it against the first loan. There's additional equity. Not enough to cover both debts." My father leaned forward. "Your mother and I are willing to help guarantee the new amount." "With what?" "Our home." For 3 years, I had helped pay the mortgage on that house because they claimed rising expenses made it difficult to keep. Now they were offering the same property as security for Megan's new debt. "Does your lender know?" I asked. "We're discussing a family arrangement," my father said. "That means no." "You're focusing on technicalities." "Technicalities are what remain after promises fail." Megan pushed her folder toward me. "I knew you would interrogate me. I invited you because I wanted to see whether all 3 of you would appear when money was mentioned." My mother removed her hand from my arm. My father's face tightened. "That's unfair. You missed dinner. You canceled the tour. You have spent every night with Megan. But when I mentioned a financial solution, you arrived early." "We traveled all this way," my mother said, "with tickets I purchased." "We didn't force you to buy them," my father replied. "No, you only said you missed me." "We do miss you." "Then stay here tonight." My parents exchanged a glance. Megan answered for them. "We already have people coming to my house." "I didn't ask you." My father sighed. "We can't keep changing plans because you feel neglected." The test was over. I requested complete financial statements, debt records, contracts, investor materials, and a list of everyone who had received documents naming me or my company. Megan interpreted my request as progress and emailed everything that afternoon. Her business had far less revenue than she claimed. Client deposits had been spent before projects were completed. She owed vendors, contractors, credit cards, and a private lender. The total approached $300,000, excluding what she owed me. Her presentation also claimed my parents had invested in the company. They had not. I reviewed their bank records and found that, over 14 months, they had transferred $42,000 to Megan shortly after receiving mortgage assistance from me. They told me they were struggling to protect their home while quietly redirecting part of my support to her failing business. They were not merely favoring Megan emotionally, they were using me as invisible capital while presenting themselves as her generous supporters. I called my attorney, Daniel, and sent him the documents. "The property loan is in default," he said. "You've had enforcement rights for more than a year." "I know." "The use of your company name could create liability." "I know that too." "Are you asking what you can do? Or have you decided?" I looked toward the unused guest rooms. "I've decided. Tell me how to do it correctly." That evening, my parents posted photographs from a rooftop restaurant with Megan. The caption read, "Making up for lost time." I spent the evening calculating every payment I had made on their behalf during the previous 5 years. The total was $412,000, excluding flights, gifts, favors, and Megan's property loan. At midnight, I created a document titled Termination of Voluntary Support. For the first time that week, I went to sleep without waiting for anyone to arrive. Thursday morning began with affection. My mother sent childhood photographs. My father wrote that he was proud of me. Megan sent a long message about how much my support had always meant to her. None of them asked to spend time with me. Every message arrived after I requested financial documents. I invited them to dinner in a private room near my office. This time, they arrived on time. "What did you believe this trip was for?" I asked. "To reconnect," my mother said. "To see both daughters," my father replied. "To spend time together and discuss opportunities," Megan added. "Did you plan to stay at my house?" "We wanted to remain flexible," my mother answered. "Did you know Megan would ask me for $250,000? My father's jaw tightened. "We knew she wanted to discuss the business." "Did you know she had used my company's name?" "No." "That's already corrected," Megan interrupted. "Did you plan to stay at Megan's house before I bought the flights?" My mother looked down. My father leaned forward. "Where is this going?" "You asked me to fund a trip you had already planned around Megan." "You offered to buy the tickets," he said, "after Mom said you couldn't afford them. Yet you redirected $42,000 of the mortgage assistance I sent you." My mother's face lost its color. "Once you gave us that money, it became ours," my father said. "That is legally true. It is also the last time it will happen." My mother stared at me. "You're stopping the payments?" "Yes." "Because we stayed with your sister?" "Because you lied about needing the money." "We had expenses." "You used my support to cover those expenses so you could send your own money to Megan. The result is the same." Megan shifted to a softer voice. "Everyone made mistakes. I should have asked before using your logo, but destroying my business over hurt feelings is extreme." "I haven't destroyed anything." "You know what happens if you refuse the loan. You'll have to operate within your real revenue. My employees depend on me. Then you shouldn't have spent client deposits on expansion." My parents turned toward her. Megan's face tightened. There were normal cash flow delays. I allowed them to argue before my father turned back to me. "Your sister came to us because she was afraid you would judge her. She came to you because she expected you to pressure me. We're trying to keep this family together." "No. You're trying to keep Megan's life together with my money." "You have more than enough," he said. That sentence removed my remaining doubt. In his mind, my success had converted my boundaries into selfishness. Anything I refused to give became something I was taking away. "How much would I need to give before I was allowed to expect basic consideration?" I asked. Don't be dramatic. You skipped every plan I made but arrived early when money was mentioned. My mother whispered, "We love you." That isn't love. It's confidence that I'll tolerate what other people wouldn't. Megan folded her arms. You've always resented that Mom and Dad are closer to me. You're right, I said. I resented it. Then I spent years trying to earn the same place by solving every problem you created. But I don't resent it anymore. You never became capable because they always found someone else to absorb your consequences. My father stood. You're going to approve the loan and stop punishing everyone because dinner didn't go your way. I closed my notebook. No, my mother cried. Megan accused me of humiliating her. My father called me arrogant, cold, and obsessed with money. I listened without defending myself. When they stopped, I asked, "Are you coming to my house tomorrow before your flight?" "After this," my father said. "Tomorrow is your last full day." "We already made plans," Megan replied. Of course they had. I stood. I'm going back to the life you keep using as proof that I don't need you. The next morning, Daniel sent 3 letters. One went to Megan. One went to my parents. The third went to every investor who had received material carrying my company's name. The first call came at 8:12 Friday morning. By 8:20, Megan had called 6 times. My mother left 2 voicemails. My father sent 4 words. "Fix this right now." Daniel's letter informed Megan that her property loan had remained in default despite repeated informal extensions. She had 60 days to bring it current, propose a documented repayment plan, or face enforcement against the house. The letter also ordered her to stop using my name, photograph, company logo, or implied endorsement. The investor notice simply clarified that neither I nor my firm had invested in, partnered with, guaranteed, or advised Megan's company. Facts caused the damage without my help. By 10, 2 investors postponed meetings. A vendor demanded payment before continuing work. A client requested proof that her deposit had not been used elsewhere. Megan blamed me as though her company had been stable until I described it accurately. My parents' letter announced that all voluntary support would end. Current insurance payments would be covered for that month, giving them time to make new arrangements. After that, their mortgage, repairs, subscriptions, and household expenses belonged to them. At 11, they appeared at my door for the first time all week. "What have you done?" Megan demanded. I corrected the record. "You contacted my investors." My attorney contacted people who received false information. "You made me look dishonest." "You used my photograph and company name without permission." My father stepped forward. "Withdraw the letters." "No." "Send another message explaining this was a misunderstanding." "It wasn't." My mother began crying. "Your sister could lose everything. She borrowed money she didn't repay, spent deposits before completing work, and used my reputation to attract financing." "Which part did I cause?" "She trusted you." "I trusted all of you. You accepted tickets by claiming you wanted to repair our relationship. You planned to stay with Megan before the flights were purchased." "We are here now," my father said, "because you received legal letters. We came to talk. You came to restore access." "Access to what?" "My money, my name, my professional relationships, and the loan Megan assumed I would never enforce." "You think everything is about money," he said. "No. I think your behavior changes whenever money is mentioned." Megan threw the letter onto my table. "What do you expect me to do in 60 days? Refinance, sell assets, reduce the business, or sell the house?" "That house is her home," my mother said. "It is also collateral she pledged voluntarily." "She's your sister." "And I was her lender when she signed." My father shook his head. "I don't recognize you. You haven't spent enough time with me to know me." No one could dismiss the statement because it was simply true. My mother sat down. "What do you want?" 5 years earlier, I would have wanted phone calls that were not about emergencies, visits I did not fund, and interest in my life. By Friday morning, I no longer wanted those things from people who needed consequences before entering my home. "I wanted you to come because you missed me," I said. "That opportunity is gone." "You're cutting off your family?" my father asked. "I'm ending financial support. What remains depends on whether there was ever a relationship underneath it." "We don't need your money." I placed a summary of 5 years of payments in front of him. He looked at the total and pushed it away. "That doesn't prove love," he said. "I agree. It proves access. And access is what you're losing." For almost an hour, they moved from guilt to anger and finally negotiation. Every proposal protected them from consequences. None addressed why I had reached my limit. At the door, my father turned back. "Our flight leaves tomorrow. I assume the car is still arranged." "The rental ends tomorrow morning." "You'll extend it?" "No." "How are we supposed to reach the airport?" my mother asked. "There are taxis, rideshare services, and rental agencies." My father laughed. "Fund our next visit, and maybe we'll make time for you." The sentence was meant to hurt me. Instead, it gave me clarity. There won't be a next visit for me to fund. I walked past them toward my car. My mother called my name. Megan demanded that I return. My father accused me of behaving like a child. I did not turn around. For the first time, I left them standing inside a crisis they had created without offering to solve it. My parents reached the airport the following afternoon. My mother sent a photograph of herself, my father, and Megan seated together in the terminal. Her message said, "Despite everything, we love you." I did not respond. Their return tickets remained active. I considered canceling them, then realized doing so would turn the story into an argument about revenge. Letting them leave kept the real issue visible. I had funded their journey, and they had used it to avoid me. The consequences began after they returned home. Without my monthly transfers, my parents had to confront the finances hidden beneath my support. Their mortgage had become manageable only because of the money I sent. They also carried credit card debt from renovations, travel, and purchases they described as necessary. My father had delayed retirement planning because he assumed I would always help. My mother continued giving money to Megan even after receiving the attorney's letter. Within 3 months, they listed their house for sale. My mother initially accused me of overreacting. Later, she said the house contained decades of memories. Eventually, she admitted they should have been honest about their finances. She still avoided admitting that the trip had been organized around Megan's funding request. My father sent emails. The first said I had betrayed the family. The second contained a spreadsheet showing what they needed to remain in the house. The third was titled, "A Reasonable Compromise." The compromise required me to resume part of the mortgage support for 2 years. In exchange, they promised to visit me the following summer using their own money. Even after everything, spending time with me was something they believed they could trade for financial support. I declined. They sold the house 6 months later and moved into a smaller condominium. They told relatives I had forced them to downsize. When an aunt called and asked what happened, I sent her the payment summary. I did not insult my parents or demand that anyone choose sides. I provided dates, amounts, and messages. The extended family finally learned that the daughter described as cold and distant had quietly covered hundreds of thousands of dollars in expenses. Several relatives apologized. One uncle admitted my father had often claimed Megan was the daughter who showed up while I cared only about my career. The truth was that Megan showed up for photographs. I showed up through payments no one discussed. Her consequences arrived faster. After my investor correction, every potential partner requested updated financial statements. Megan could not produce records supporting her claims. 2 clients canceled projects after learning that deposits had been spent elsewhere. Vendors moved her onto payment before delivery terms. Without new financing, she closed the studio and attempted to operate from home. She missed the deadline in Daniel's letter. We offered a repayment plan requiring her to sell part of the property's equity or make structured monthly payments. She rejected it and accused me of controlling her life. Daniel then began enforcement proceedings. Megan listed the Glendale house before the dispute reached court. The sale price covered my secured loan, but vendor claims, taxes, and other debts consumed most of what remained. The house where my parents had chosen to spend their entire visit was gone 11 months later. Megan moved into an apartment and closed her design company. She posted vague messages about betrayal, jealous relatives, and rebuilding after being targeted by someone threatened by her success. She avoided using my name because Daniel warned her that false public claims would be documented. I did not respond online. Public humiliation had never been my goal. I wanted the false statements removed, the loan repaid, and the financial dependence ended. The rest happened because my family had mistaken protection for permanence. Once my parents could no longer finance Megan, their relationship with her changed. She had remained the center of the family because everyone else absorbed the price of keeping her there. Without my money, resentment spread quickly. My mother blamed Megan for hiding the debts. Megan blamed our parents for promising I would approve the loan. My father blamed everyone except himself. Almost a year after the trip, my mother asked to meet me alone. She offered to fly to Los Angeles using money she had saved. I agreed to coffee in a public place. "I'm sorry," she said after we sat down. I waited. "We did plan to stay with Megan. She told us the business was close to succeeding. She said you would refuse if she asked directly. So you used the visit. We thought that once we were all together, you would understand." "You weren't with me." Her eyes filled with tears. "I know." It was the first apology that did not immediately become a request. She admitted they had grown comfortable believing I would recover from anything because I appeared strong. "You were easier to disappoint," she said. "Megan reacted whenever we said no. You found a way forward. We convinced ourselves that meant you needed less. That was convenient." "Yes." I appreciated the honesty, but I did not confuse it with repair. My mother asked whether we could rebuild slowly. I agreed to occasional messages and perhaps another meeting. I would not resume payments, provide business financing, arrange travel, or rescue anyone from emergencies created by repeated choices. Before leaving, she paid for her own coffee. That detail was small, but it was the first time she had visited without allowing the cost of our meeting to become mine. My father never apologized. He sent birthday and holiday messages, occasionally mentioning an expense. I replied to the greeting and ignored the hint. Megan contacted me nearly 2 years later. She did not apologize for using my company's name. She said losing the house had destroyed her confidence and claimed the consequence exceeded the mistake. I reminded her that selling collateral to repay a defaulted loan was not punishment. It was the agreement she had signed. She asked whether we could start over. I told her starting over required acknowledging what happened without rewriting it. She never responded. My revenge was not screaming at them in an airport, canceling flights, destroying property, or publishing their private failures. My revenge was removing the invisible structure that allowed them to disrespect me without cost. I stopped paying for my parents to appear generous. I stopped financing my sister's appearance of success. I stopped allowing my professional reputation to become family property. Most importantly, I stopped purchasing invitations to a family that had already decided where I belonged. The first year was lonelier than I expected. Boundaries did not erase grief. Some nights I questioned whether keeping the peace would have been easier. Then I remembered the empty guest rooms, the false investor presentation, and the way all 3 of them arrived early only after money was mentioned. Peace had never existed. I had simply paid enough to keep the conflict hidden. Today, the money I once sent to my family goes into an employee development fund at my company. It helps cover training, certifications, education, and emergency grants for people working to build stable futures. For years, my family claimed that refusing to fund them meant I valued money more than people. They were wrong. I finally understood money well enough to see what it revealed about people. My parents crossed the country with tickets I purchased and chose to spend the week with the daughter they preferred. They believed I would remain grateful for whatever time they offered because I had spent my life accepting crumbs and calling them connection. My father's final joke was supposed to remind me that another visit depended on my willingness to pay. Instead, it reminded me that I had been paying all along, so I closed the account. They did not lose me because I demanded repayment. They lost me when they accepted my invitation, carried their luggage into my sister's house, and assumed I would still be waiting whenever they needed something. Sometimes the most satisfying revenge is not taking anything from the people who used you. It is letting them discover how much of their comfortable life belonged to you.
Thank you for watching this story guys today. This video is completely fictional and created only for storytelling, entertainment, and reflection. We hope it reminds you that some people will only respect your final decision after ignoring every warning that came before it. By then, your responsibility is not to soften the consequence, but to protect the peace you finally choose.